Since 2021 has been a year for television following the initial scare of the all-encompassing COVID-19 pandemic, goes without saying that showrunners have had more than enough on their plates, and with the 2022 Screen Actors Guild Awards fast approaching, it's time to see who reigns supreme. But does William H. Macy still stand a chance of winning, and what other shameless news should you know about? For all this and more, stay tuned. First of all, let's talk about the prospects of Macy walking away with another win. For those of you who don't know, William H. Macy has been a regular on the SAG stage for years now. It all started back in 2003 when he was called up to accept the award for Best Male Actor in a Miniseries or TV Movie, which he was able to grab because of his impressive performance in Door to Door. But only true fans of Macy will know that this short stint of fame he had all the way back then, as the majority of us only really started to pay attention to him when he brought the character of Frank Gallagher to life in Shameless. And wouldn't you know it, this resulted in one of the greatest SAG Award wins of all time for Macy in 2015, something we all saw coming because of how crucial he was to the success of the show. Even though it was Emmy Rossum who portrayed the lead character, it was Macy who led the cast to victory, easily portraying the most beloved and hated character of all time in the comedy genre. Shameless went on to run for a full 11 seasons and actually only came to an end earlier this year. Suffice to say, fans have been calling for the acknowledgement of William H. Macy one last time, which would really be the cherry on top of a fantastic run with the cast and crew of the show. The performance he pulled off in that final episode was heartbreaking, after all. So then, what are the man's prospects of winning another SAG Award? Well, pretty high to be honest. Although he lost to Jeffrey Tambor of Transparent fame back in 2016, he came back with a vengeance the following 2 years, winning for his performance in Shameless in both 2017 and 2018. This put him in a pretty exclusive group alongside Alec Baldwin and Tony Shalhoub, the only men to ever win 4 individual television awards in the history of the world. Not too bad for a Gallagher, right? And when it really comes down to it, this final season of Shameless has certainly put him in a great position to walk away with another SAG Award, making it 5. For those of you who didn't actually tune into the final season of the show, it's something you should definitely think of doing sometime soon. Although it stuck by its comedic roots, the show tackled everything from the coronavirus pandemic to the eventual effects of addiction, and, spoiler alert, we also got to see Frank take his last breath in a powerful scene that will forever be remembered by the fans. If there was ever a season of Shameless to deserve a SAG Award, it's this final one, and that's 100% because of the incredible performance that William H. Macy put in. That being said, this is still going to be a tough task. Macy's running against a few powerhouses in their own right, ranging from Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso to Dan Levy, who also said goodbye to Schitt's Creek. Speaking of Shameless, the cast have finally spoken up about the last season. It was a shocker of note, which still has fans questioning why Showtime decided to call things quits. But it looks like the cast of the show have finally said their goodbyes to this series that made them all into household names. William H. Macy was the first to take to social media, where he shared a post of the cast flipping off the camera in true Gallagher style. He captioned the hilarious pic with a simple "Goodbye, Shameless. End of an era." Emma Kenney, who we all know for her portrayal of the annoying but sweet Debbie Gallagher, also took to Instagram, where she shared a photograph of the cast sitting on the front steps of the infamous Gallagher home. She went on to capture the moment by saying, "And that's our show, folks. Thank you times 11. Last but not least, Cameron Monaghan, who will always be known as Ian Gallagher, did precisely the same, sharing a rather intimate slideshow on the social media platform documenting the incredible times that the cast had behind the scenes of the show. Unfortunately for them though, not everything was sunshine and rainbows. Quite a few fans were disappointed that Emmy Rossum, who brought the beautiful and complicated character of Fiona Gallagher to life for the first 9 seasons, didn't appear in that season finale to say goodbye to the show that had essentially made her. But as it turns out, there might have been a good reason for the Rossum exclusion. You see, according to reports, she wasn't exactly the best person to work with. At least that's what Emma Kenny made known back in October of this year. All started when Kenny was brought on to the famous podcast Call Her Daddy, when she was asked about her time on the set of Shameless and why she had more than a few interesting stories to tell listeners. It was her comments on Emmy Rossum that really made some waves. According to her, Rossum was like a real sister on set, which was both good and bad. She explained this by saying that when things started off, she was pretty young. As such, she was looking for as much advice as she could possibly soak up in an attempt to be a better actress. And while Rossum was more than supportive at times, she would sometimes get frustrated with the young actress and end up giving her blatantly bad advice that could have ruined her career. That being said, Kenny followed this up by saying that she had no idea what was going on in Rossum's life at that point in time though, and that she may have been struggling with her own interpersonal problems and taking it out on other people. She also indicated that there was this weird sense of competition between her and Rossum, who's 13 years her senior. And while she's not sure whether Rossum was the one who created it, she's quite sure that she didn't. Suffice to say, the two didn't get on well behind the scenes. That being said, John Wells has now explained why Rossum didn't return. And unsurprisingly enough, it had nothing to do with her relationship with Emma Kenny. The showrunner was interviewed back in April by The Hollywood Reporter, where she told the public that Rossum had actually expressed an interest in returning for the season finale. The plan was to have her come in one last final time to say her goodbyes to Frank, who after spending the season looking for her on his deathbed, just wanted to see her one last time. The only reason Rossum didn't return, according to Wells, is because of the logistics that surrounded the COVID-19 pandemic. She lives in New York, after all, and Shameless is shot in Los Angeles. In his own words, based on what was going on with the pandemic when we were planning it, there have been so many surges. I can't remember which one it was, but quarantine went into effect. Just like that, it became impossible for Rossum to make the trip from New York to Los Angeles, and since the show had deadlines to meet, they had to all but move on without her. And honestly, we're actually pretty glad that they did. Having Fiona show up would have definitely created a heartfelt moment, but that's not what the show was about. Ending things on a negative note for Frank, who had hurt so many people because of his addictions, was probably the best road to take. We just wish things could have been different for his own sake. Last but not least, Shameless star Jeremy Allen has spoken up about his family. As it turns out, it's a lot more stable than the Gallaghers. Seems like just yesterday, that star, who's best known for his portrayal of Lip Gallagher, welcomed his second child into the world, which saw his wife, Addison Timlin, announcing the news on Instagram back in December of last year. This wasn't the only thing that Timlin announced, though. The couple, who have been married since 2019, went on to state that the birth of their daughter is something that actually ended up saving the year for them, which was a pretty complicated one, considering how COVID-19 was spreading like wildfire and putting their jobs at risk. The pair also went on to thank their families for being so supportive and helping them through such a tough time. It's good to see that Lip got a happy ending in both the show and the real world. And there you have it, everything you needed to know about the latest in Shameless news. What do you think of William H. Macy's prospects of taking home another SAG Award, though? And what about that strained Rossum relationship? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.